from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased joining me, Ryan Matonis. Ryan, thank you very much for being with me on the show today. The way I love to do it is I keep it to my guests to do themselves. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do currently, and then we can start discussion from there. The floor is yours.
Yeah, sounds good. Mehmet, thanks for having me. I'll just kind of give you a really quick background on me. I am very much a technical person, data scientist, computer scientist by trade and education. And I got into entrepreneurship about 5 or 6 years ago when I realized that if I wanted to do anything other than just like work for somebody, I needed to learn how to like market and sell and network and put myself out there and do my thing. And that sort of became like my business. I got into the lead gen side of things. I'm the CTO at like a big lead gen company now. And so I work with a lot of marketing and salespeople. I still am like the tech person who's responsible for everything at the end of the day, but we're not like a super, like, we're not like a Google, we're not like a tech company, right? So that's my background. That's where I'm at. If you have any more questions about that specifically, I can go into it, but.
Yeah, sure. We're gonna, deep dive a little bit in the journey, Ryan, of course. And, the first question that comes to my mind, like you said, you thought if you don't want to stay working for someone else, was this the main motive for you to do this, pivot, I would say, in your career? Or was it like something else that, maybe an event that happened that pushed you into that direction?
I think it was just, so I was an intern at like a Fortune 500 defense contractor. And they had me, basically they were looking at building in like bringing in these outside contractors to do like this database application. They were gearing up to spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars on this, getting like all their test machines talking to each other and things like that. I ended up doing it for them. I think it probably cost them like $25,000 or $30,000 of my time. And it ended up saving like over $1 million in automation. I was like, oh, wow, I should get really I'm sure they're going to just like shower me with like thanks and rewards and things like that. And I just got like a really bad, like below market rate full-time offer after they had me like going around from like, I'll bring them on the webinar and like listen to let all the other factories hear what like we've done here. And it was just kind of a realization that like the mega corporations weren't gonna, like they weren't gonna like make it happen for me. Like it was something that I was gonna have to do for myself. And it was like, wow, if I went in there, like if I was that contractor that was trying to tell those guys like they needed $300K for like this database, like they almost did that. Like the only reason they didn't do that was because I told them they were just wasting money, right? And what thanks did I get? So that was like my wake up call. That was where I said, okay, I'm not gonna like. So I went out, I started like freelancing. I started doing my own software development. I was like, I'm gonna make way more money working for myself. And so I was working for myself, but I wasn't making more money at all. Actually, I was making less than like what they had offered me because I was just so bad at like just getting sales opportunities. I didn't even realize like how bad I was. I was like, oh, I got a lead. I'm going to work this lead for like a month. I'm going to text them, see if, it was just like, I didn't even really like, I don't think I even knew what a lead was,
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have like that vocabulary of like business. And she's like, oh, here's like an opportunity, this guy. And so like, my first year after that, it was just horrible. It was just horrible. It was like trying to freelance and
yeah,
it was just horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I like when you said it was like a wake-up call, and I think that's what happens to a lot of people. Like, they think the world ends, sitting in a chair inside the office behind, a laptop or desktop, whatever, behind the screen and doing some job, and that's it. But they miss out that there's a lot of things going out there. Now, in your journey, I mean, you wanted to, of course, and coming from this techie background, solve real world problems. So the your journey included building a lead generation SaaS and operating it to a successful exit. So I like to hear these stories, Ryan. So what was the initial problem you saw and you said, okay, this needs really to be solved with lead engines, and how did you approach? Sorry, what was your approach to evolve it over the time?
Yeah. So actually the way that I started Lead Engines is probably different than most people's experience of starting a SaaS. Like, oh, I have this idea, I'm going to build this thing. And that wasn't really the process that I went through. What I had was an awareness that like I was just really bad at like marketing and sales. And I knew that I needed to be putting myself out there more. I knew that I needed to be doing lead gen. I had been learning from like other entrepreneurs, the things that I needed to do. And then somebody came to me, like a friend, entrepreneur, whatever, and he wanted me to build him a lead list building automation platform. So basically he was like, hey, I have all these tools. I follow this blog article to just combine them in this way. And I was wondering, would you be able to go in and like just connect them all together and just have it like run automatically? I was like, yeah, I could do that. But he only had about $1,500 for me to build this thing. And that just definitely wasn't enough. Maybe like I actually thought about it, like I mentioned, it was just making no money at the time trying to do this. But I kind of thought about this for a minute. I was like, you know what? This is like what I need. I need something like this. I need to be able to constantly just be reaching out to people. Like, I just need more leads. I'm not going to learn how to sell without more leads. That was kind of where I was at. I was like, if I have leads, I'll learn how to sell, And so what I told him, I was like, look, I could sell you this thing for $1,500, but what happens if it breaks? You have to maintain it. You don't know how to maintain it. You have to pay somebody to maintain it. What if you want it to be improved? What if you want upgrades, right? I was like, what if instead I built this thing for you? I met the spec that you needed, right? But I owned it and I sold you a lifetime license for $1,500. And then he started thinking about it. He's like, well, is there like another SaaS out there that does this? And he starts doing his research, and he ended up not finding anything that just competed that directly with this. Like, obviously there's other data products out there, but there was nothing that did the exact things that he needed. And so he came back to me and said, okay, let's do it. And that was my first Lead Engines customer. It was actually his idea. He paid me $1,500 to build it out, but then I owned it. And he just got to use it. He still uses it. It was a great deal for him because the product has been getting better and better and better. He hasn't spent $1 on upgrades. He hasn't spent $1 on, maintenance, getting it fixed, anything like that. He's just been benefiting from the improvements I put out over the years. So that's how Lead Engines was born, I suppose. Really wasn't, that was my idea, like doing it that way, but like just like the actual product idea itself was not actually initially even my idea.
Yeah, which is fair enough, because not all the time, it's the founder's idea. Because I heard it from a couple of people. They say like the best way to get ideas actually is to go talk to people, because you would be solving other people's problem, not necessarily your problem. Of course, some people, they prefer to solve their own problem first. The problem with that approach, it might be your only problem. It's not like everyone else's problem. So I think, and this made for you, like, because also, your customer paid for that. So actually you proved the traction from day one that someone at least is willing to pay for that. So you saved maybe, I would say 50% of the journey, between validation and trying to find ideas. So that's inspiring, actually.
Yeah,
Now,
I had him doing my competitor research and things like that, because why was he going to spend $1,500 and go buy something else? Why was he going to waste my time, his money,
absolutely.
right? So I do highly
Absolutely.
recommend taking that approach to just anybody, like being sales driven. Like the number one thing that we do as tech people is like build things too early,
Absolutely.
Like the most useful thing I do with my time on any given day is convince people that I shouldn't do that thing with my time.
And this, and the funny thing about this, Ryan, is everyone knows this, but no one actually applied. Like, every time I sit with someone, yeah, I know I should only build like MVP, let's say. And then they start to think about everything possible. I say, just stop. Like, just build the minimum. It's called minimum viable product. So you don't
Yeah.
need to build all the fancy, even if your interface is not complete, even if you have some functions which are missing, but you need to show the value at the beginning to your potential customers, and then of course, once you have the traction, you start to add whatever you want. So absolutely. Now, operating that as a solo founder to exit is something really, really big.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that you have accumulated a lot of lessons down the road. So if you want to say or share with us, your top 3 lessons that you learn about starting and growing, in a solo mode, especially in a very competitive landscape. So what are these 3 lessons, Ryan?
Yeah, probably the first one would have actually been just the importance of recruiting, like getting good people and just like getting them on my team. And like the most influential thing that I ever had was partnerships, and then something that I learned as I got further along and started doing other things was just the importance of like having good team members. So I really wouldn't endorse the solo founder thing too much. It does have its benefits. But I don't actually think, like, in hindsight, it wasn't the best strategy. Like, now I know what my swim lane is. I do think it's really important to swim in the other lanes for a little bit and just learn what other people are doing and like learn what the other roles are in the business around you, which was like the main value that I got out of like the solopreneur thing. Um, but man, you got to learn how to delegate. Like, you got to learn delegating up and down, just like having people that are cheap that can do things for you, just take it off your plate so you don't have to worry with it. And then also just being able to hire people that are better than you at things that you don't know how to solve yourself. Like, um, my current business, we have people that, they manage a team of like 15 people, and I was never going to do that myself. I was just never going to figure out how to do that. I learned so much just from watching them do that. So the solo thing, like, it's a good learning experience. I probably would have moved faster and gotten bigger if I didn't do it solo, just being totally honest. But the benefits of it, like, I got a ton of customer feedback. I learned from a bunch of customers. I actually used the product for like a lot of customers, like my initial customers, right? It's either like, hey, I could sell you this $100 SaaS, or I could charge you $1,500 a month for me to use it for you. I didn't explain it to them that way. I kind of just realized it's like, wait a minute, like, if I have to set this all up for them, I should just kind of dress this up like an agency, So there was sort of
Yeah.
like, I had to take a lot of shortcuts. It was like, since I didn't have marketing people and I didn't have salespeople at first, to go out there and bring in like 100 customers that is like enough that you need for a SaaS to pay the bills, kind of ran it like an agency model or like a freelancer model, where I would use the tool to do things for people, make sure that I would keep getting that validation, get the revenue, get the branding kind of thing. Yeah. Was that a fair answer? Just don't do the solo thing. Or if you do, that's how you would. I wouldn't do it again. I honestly wouldn't do it again. It was brutal.
Like, I think it's not for everyone, to be fair. I just tested water for 2 months, and I said no. Like, I mean, from a full-fledged, product perspective, trying to get a product and trying to do it by yourself. Yeah, some people have managed to do that, and they're making a lot of money, but I don't think it's for everyone. But I've seen people who crashed because they tried it. So they said,
it ends up getting so hard to hire people in because all of your roles are so melded together. And it's like, oh, I need to go do this customer service thing. Like, let me write this little database query to go like fix something inside like our customer database. And there's no way you're ever going to hire somebody who's like doing the customer service thing that's going to reach 4 swim lanes over, write some JavaScript queries to like go purge something out of your customer database. Like, you're never going to find those
no.
people that are like shaped in this really weird way that like your business ends up being shaped because it's based on you, and it's like, it's your baby and it's a reflection of you, and you're maybe not like a normal person or something, right? And so it's just like, your business isn't made to be operated by normal people.
And I think because especially, if you are into the B2B space, because, when you deal with businesses, their expectation in support, in after sales, it's quite high, and they are right, because they
Hmm.
say, okay, we're paying like to you this amount of money every month or every year, and we expect
Hmm.
in return also to have first a product that works. Second, if something breaks, we need someone to come and fix it. So maybe I've seen the solopreneurs more successful in kind of a B2C model, I would say, probably because of course, still they need to support their customers, but when they start small, I think they don't have this feeling like, okay, it's a company that might cause me a headache, versus like, okay, customer that I can just talk to them, calm them down, and say, okay, wait, I'm gonna fix to you something, and then we move from there. So I think this is also plays a role of them for them.
You're
Um,
probably right. Yeah.
yeah. Now you mentioned something a lot about sales and marketing, and of course, as a founder, especially if you are alone at the beginning, you need to do all these roles. Now, what marketing strategies, whether outbound or inbound, you have found that to be most effective, and you know especially in the B2B, again, SaaS, we're talking here mainly B2B SaaS, and
Yeah.
how they differ maybe from other industries?
Yeah. The first one is probably lifetime deal strategies. So like if you have a SaaS, especially, um, you just need to take advantage of like the lifetime deal markets. There's a bunch of them out there. Basically, you put your product up there, people pay maybe like a year, 6 months worth of subscription fee. You give probably half of it to like the lifetime deal platform. But if you're selling a SaaS, that's just kind of like just like it's pure profit once you've kind of built everything, or you have really good margins, right? Like incrementally on each sale. Um, you need to be taking advantage of the lifetime deals, because the biggest problem you deal with is like an early stage SaaS, it's cash flow, right? And so you either are selling annual deals, you're getting people to pay up front, you're selling lifetime deals, you're selling like additional services. Like in our case, that was like writing emails, in addition to just, the selling the lead lists kind of thing. Um, so that was the big one, was lifetime deals. And then the second one for us, outbound. Yeah, we had a ton of outbound worked for us, because we were eating our own dog food, right? It was an outbound product. We never let the outbound stop. It was just years and years of just sending cold emails. Got maybe 100, maybe more than 100 customers that way, honestly. Thousands of leads. We're getting one or two, couple replies a day, 3 4 sometimes, on average. um, and then for inbound strategy, there was just a lot of like partner marketing. So like since we were cold email lead list building tool that integrated with cold email tools, I just reached out to all the cold email companies that
Mhm.
sold like, the little sequencers or whatever. It was like, hey, you know what probably the biggest problem your customers have is they run out of leads, right? They set up their campaign, they run it, they run out of leads, they had a great experience, but they don't have anybody to send email to, so they're going to cancel, right? And so I got them to put me on their site, feature me in their marketing. And we like almost we actually seriously thought about like slowing down the outbound when that happened, because we were getting so many leads that were already using tools that we were integrated with, that just wanted to hook us up and turn it on and fire and forget, that were coming just like directly from these companies. And we had like that credibility, like, oh, you were on, you got mentioned by Mailshake, or you got mentioned by Reply, or I found you like this
Mhm.
Lemlist email or something, right? um those are the best leads we got. We converted like probably half or more of those. People would come in,
Wow.
they would, like sign up for free trials. That was the first time we ever had somebody sign up, put in a credit card, do a free trial, come back an hour later, and then upgrade to a paid account without ever being contacted like by a salesperson.
Wow.
And
That's
it was like over the moon. It was like $200, but I was like over the moon. I was like, I can't believe that just happened. Like, but that came from inbound, right? That's never going to come from outbound. Like outbound, they're going to agree to talk to you,
of course.
Um, and I think the lifetime deal thing kind of fits into the partnership channel marketing concept a little
Yeah.
bit. It's like you're just leveraging people that already have these networks, and people's big fear is like you're going to cannibalize your revenue or whatever. But I don't think there was a single instance where it was like somebody that already knew who we were heard about us through like a lifetime deal promo or something.
Yeah.
At least they never told me about it. I'm sure like eventually when people were looking for us and they could find it, But I would do it. Like a lot of people, they get all bent out of shape about like the pricing or the margins on the lifetime deals. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, I think at the beginning, to your point, Ryan, they are important because also you can ask later for some testimonials also from these customers if they are happy. So it's a win-win situation. So you have also the social proof as well later when, if you need to stop these lifetime deals maybe after 6 months of the launch. So at least you've built like some trustworthiness, I would say, for the product and of course for the company, which is very smart move. And there are a lot of platforms that allows you to do. The one that comes to my mind, I'm not affiliated, by the way. I know that AppSumo, they have this platform where you can put these lifetime deals. There's plenty. You can just Google them also. So now, before I asked you like something a little bit different from this lead generation thing. Where do you see lead generation in general heading in the future? And now, with the AI thing coming in, and people are saying, okay, everyone gonna be using AI, and there will be like kind of a tons of emails and even calls done by maybe
Yeah.
voice generated. How do you see the future for lead generation in the age of AI, Ryan?
I think that's going to come down a lot to what regulations end up getting passed or like what laws get changed. Like if they decided that you would be allowed to cold call with AI, it would probably blow up and then completely go away. Like just very, very quickly. Just imagine you're getting 100 cold calls a day. They're from AI. Like you just don't even answer your phone anymore. Like, or, the email, it's maybe not regulation, but like Google and Yahoo are constantly shutting down their spam filters, they're just tightening things down more and more. It's sort of kind of the thing with lead gen historically. It seems that like it always gets beat up by either the government saying that something, we're going to change some law, or one of like the, I think people were doing a bunch of text message marketing until they shut down that, like the text message carriers shut that down. They're always making more restrictions on like outbound dialing. And then Facebook, Google, that's sort of different because, not to get political, but they more or less, they might as well be the government, I guess. And they, are helping pass laws. And like some of it, I wonder, it's like Google and Facebook, they don't want you to be able to send cold email. They don't want you cold calling, right? They just want the only way for you to possibly get customers is to purchase ads from them, so they're going to have their hands in this. Even SEO is going to be impacted. Just all this algorithmically generated content. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if we saw just like a lot of lead gen tactics kind of blow up and then crap out really quickly. A shift back to more like referral marketing, or just like network. Like, hey, I know a guy who's like a real human who like does this thing, and like I actually worked with him. Like if people's trust is like decreasing in online ads and spam like that. So I really don't know. Actually, this is something that we worry about all the time. We don't have a good answer about what lead gen is going to look like in 5 years, because I don't know what changes the government and Google and the powers that be are going to make, which is really what ties our hands, and it's the thing that we're kind of always working around, right? It's like I've seen so many businesses come and go because they built it on cold email, and then they just ramped up the spam filters, and
Yeah.
Whatever marketing agency that was selling whatever Instagram marketing services or something, they can't send cold email anymore, and so it just poof, it's like gone. They just didn't figure out how to do it another way.
Yeah, it would be an interesting space.
I would say mega corporations purchasing advertisements, and just completely unattainable to small, medium-sized businesses. Just,
it's making already it's hard. So, just for the sake of audience. So I know majority of my audience actually they are in the US and Canada and some of them Europe, and I have, of course, my local audience over here. So now cold outreach here is not something which people are very, from customers' perspective, they don't like the cold outreach usually. The problem is, and I'm sure it's global problem. So you get the real estate brokers, you get the the credit card guys, sales guys. You got everyone, and out of the blue, someone's trying to sell something which is, of course, has value. You know, so already, cold outreach here is not like that. Everyone does it, of course. The results usually we see here are much less than this global standard. And I'm not against it, but I would be happy if we are pushed, of course, not to the paid ads. Of course, paid ads are important, but I'm more happy to go back to what everyone was doing before, which is to your point, more networking, like more like smaller events. It doesn't have to be these fancy big events that you need to pay thousands of dollars to go to. Something much smaller, where you meet people who are looking for solutions. And I think even from sales perspective, from my experience, this makes everyone's lives easier because people there are there for solutions. You're there to promote your solution actually, and then you do the matching, right? So,
Mhm.
and you build this relationship because, right, like you are like me, we both like came from a technical background that we know, like in sales, it's all about the relation. I'm big fan of the relationship selling because even when you do an interaction, the way you interact with your customer, even if he or she likes your solution, they would look at how you're building the rapport with them, how you will give the support after the sales happen. So all these things matters here. And I'm saying this to fellow founders because you need to think about this aspect. Acquiring customers is the easy part. Keeping these customers after sales is the is the hard part. So you need to build this relationship from the beginning so you can make sure that you don't have churn because if we talk about SaaS here, so you don't want your customers leaves you after a couple of months because they're not happy with the service or they cannot like find the right person to talk to. So all these, I think they are relatable. Just my opinion over here, Ryan. Now, one thing when I was preparing, because again, and I'm curious to know how you do it, if you can give me examples. So coming from a technology background, and you need to go talk to non-technology people, right? So how or what are the strategies you use, to explain complex tech concepts to someone who's non-tech savvy?
Oh, analogies. Just all analogies.
Can you give the example?
um, like I think the other day I was explaining the concept of throughput, like how much can you get a system to produce, and so I just talked about McDonald's and their
Uh-huh.
burgers, and then how like if you throw in like random things, like if you start trying to throw a sushi roll in at McDonald's, but they don't have like the infrastructure for it, like they have this whole machine that's just cranking out burgers, and then it's got to stop, put out a sushi roll, and then go back to cranking out burgers. Like how many more burgers could you have cranked out? People, the analogies work for people because technology is all around us and technological concepts are all around us, and they're built into every single thing that we do and the way every single business operates, even if it's not technological. You just have to point it out somewhere else. Like that's how it works over there, right? And then once they see it, they already understand it. And then sometimes I feel like I just say things that like don't even make sense because I'll say like this analogy and then like this analogy and this one, and then I'll combine them and I'll say something where it's like, if you didn't hear me mention these three analogies right before I just said this like nonsense sentence, you would have thought I was just like taking crazy pills or something. And I can't even
Yeah.
think of one like off the top of my head.
Yeah,
But like
fine.
just combine several analogies and people are like, oh, okay, I get it. Even if like the way that you represent them, it's like not English, it doesn't make sense. It's like just connecting the ideas and then people kind of get it because they already have the
Yeah.
idea and then they see it everywhere. They see it every day.
Yeah, back in previous lives when I had to, explain very techy concepts or, any even products or services to non-tech people, I used to try analogies indeed, and I needed to explain to them to something that they can immediately visualize and imagine. So for example, for me, and I learned this from my father actually, anything that I can relate to water and the water flow. So I would use this. So I've tried if I can get this because people, they know how the water flows. You need pipes, you need like tanks to store the water, for example, and you need to do some filtering to the water to make sure you're drinking a healthy water. So anything that I can relate to water when it comes to explaining like technical terms to non-tech people, it was a good strategy for me. Of course, like I'm mentioning water. You can just, if something you're more familiar with that people can visualize, it's a very good technique actually, because at least they can start, even if they don't understand 100%. And to be frank with you, no one would be able from the first time to understand you 100%, but they can start to relate things and they can start to get the idea. And this is very handy, especially if you are in sales, you are technical, and you're trying to sell something to someone who is too much business driven, little bit tech savvy. So you need to make sure that they get this concept. Now, Ryan, tell me, how's life after, doing the exit? Like, how does it look on the other side?
Yeah. I mean, so it was more of like an acqui-hire. So it just joined a much larger organization that had already been like reselling our software and things like that. And so the first thing was just like taking off my, 17 hats that I was wearing over here and thinking about like, now that I'm part of this larger thing, like, what are my priorities, and like, this can't be my priority just because it was like my baby, right? Or just like having to just understand that like there's all these other things that are happening in the organization that I am not already emotionally attached to, that are just equally or probably more important than whatever I was doing yesterday. I think I did that better than most people would, honestly.
In which sense, Ryan?
That I didn't like feel the need to shoehorn it into everything, or like it's like if there was decisions where it was like we need to either put resources towards this or that, it's like I was able to just be objective about like which is better for us, which is better for the way that I'm going to be able to go point and say that I did that thing. It's like, okay, well, let's do the one that's better for us, and we'll like worry about the.
Because I can get your point, because I've read stories where if something, especially if kind of acquisition, the founder would be like still attached to that. To your point, like it's my baby, I don't want people to change. But if you lose a little bit on that, and you say, okay, if you think this is the way that we should do, let's do it. And what happens usually, if founders they don't accept, they end up by leaving the business, and they go, either they start something new, or they go for a while, they take some time without doing anything, and then maybe they come back. So, but like, it seems like the relation with with that was like healthy one, I would say, when you did the acquisition, and you prepared maybe yourself psychologically for this, which is I would say it's a healthy thing to happen. And Ryan, like, we discussed quite a lot of things today. So, and as we're coming to an end, it's a little bit kind of a cliche question, I know, but if you want to leave the audience, mainly to be founders or currently founders in the B2B SaaS space, with final wisdom words, what you would tell them, and also tell us where we can find more about you and how people can reach out to you.
Yes, you can find more about me on LinkedIn. Just search Ryan Matonis, reach out. I get a lot of LinkedIn spam, so maybe mention that you saw me on the podcast or something. Let me know you're a human. That helps. Because I don't reply to everybody that messages me. I just don't. And then I think the thing that I would leave people with is my personal rule that I try to follow whenever possible. Big plays only. So like, don't get caught up in the little stuff. Like, swing the bat, try to go get that big channel partner, try to go pull off that big lifetime deal thing. Just try to do like the big things, because as it gets bigger, like the 10% that you keep adding is going to start turning into 9, 8, 7, 6, 1%, 1%, 1%, right? And it's not going to do anything for you. And then the other thing is, if you're really truly just getting started, start with a sale. Start by selling something to somebody that actually needs it. Let them go figure out whether or not it's a waste of money for them to pay this much money for this thing, because they're going to do their research on that better than you. Like, new product developing entrepreneurs, like, full blinders on. I'm pretending the competition doesn't exist. I'm pretending they're not out there because they scare me. Like, you can't get into that mentality. Or like, I'm going to build this thing because my mom said it's great. My mom still doesn't understand the point of lead engines. And that's fine. She's not in B2B, It's not what she does. But my customers do, right? They get it. And that was because like it came from just like, I think so many people, they like ask their friends or their network, would this be a cool thing for this, for people that do that? I don't know. Go ask them. Go ask the people that you think are going to buy it. So if you want to start a business, start talking to your customers. Like they don't have to be buying anything from you yet. You don't have to have a business yet, but you could still see them as like your customers or your market or your audience or whatever. And you can start caring about what their needs are and how to solve them and like learn what they're doing. Because I guess final bit of wisdom before I drop off, nobody purchases anything a la carte. Like you can sell things a la carte. Everybody's shopping for the package. Like they buy a CRM because of what it integrates with. They buy a data product because of what it integrates with. They buy a cold email sequencer because their cold email is part of their marketing strategy. Like everything's all part of like this bigger thing. So think about where you fit in that. Don't get caught up in the minutia. Don't get caught into trying to pull all of the partners in your ecosystem into you to compete with them or something like that. Just kind of stay in your lane, figure out what your customer cares about, find the lanes that are next to you, the people that are creating the problem that you solve, and get in front of their customers.
That's really very, very insightful, I would say. And especially the part of, don't ignore it's all about ego, I would say, Ryan. Like accept that your idea, I'm saying in general, might not be the best idea. So you need to go to talk to the customer. Your competition might have the same thing and you think they don't have it. No, go and do your research, to your point. So it's all about, and I know it's hard. I know from myself. I'm not saying like I never did it before. So we need to drop a little bit the ego and really go out of the building, as Steve Blank says, and go see what the customers want and then solve their problems. I think this is the formula. It's not. It looks easy, of course. It's not. We know this, and I think Ryan has done it the hard way. But yes, you need to go and start to talk to your customers. So Ryan, thank you very much for your time today with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Mehmet, thanks for your time. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and this is usually how I end my episodes. So you will, as I said, Ryan, you can reach him on LinkedIn, but you need to write that you find him through the CTO Show with Mehmet. And if you just found this podcast for the first time, if you like it, please subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the followers and fans, thank you very much. Keep also sending me your feedback and suggestion. I really appreciate this. And if you want to be on the podcast, also reach out. We can discuss what you want to discuss. If we find a fit and match, we can do this. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll meet again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.